everybody, my name is Maeve McCormack. You're all very welcome. Today I'm going to be talking to Jean Gilligan of IT Sligo about Springboard Plus programme and the eligibility for that programme. We're going to talk about what kind of courses are available and who's eligible to avail of these subsidised courses. In particular, we'll be focusing on opportunities and supports for those who are currently unemployed and for those who are looking to return to the workforce. Jean, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Maeve.
What I'm going to ask you to do first is just kind of give us a brief overview of the Springboard Plus programme.
Springboard is actually celebrating its 10-year anniversary this year. So it started in September 2011, and it had a sole objective when it commenced of upskilling people who were unemployed and giving them an opportunity to upskill in an area where there was a skill shortage and return back to employment. So they were all one-year part-time programs in areas where there was skills shortages. And that continues to be the case. We continue to look at areas where employers are having difficulty finding people with skills to meet their skills needs. We review various government's reports, the future skills reports, and we submit programs on an annual basis. So all programs funded meet current skills needed, and that's why they're funded on an annual basis. They will only fund programs that have a current skills need. Now, over the years, it's diversified slightly. So its original objective was specifically for those that were unemployed, but now there are a number of different criteria of people that they will fund, including those in employment. So it's a really good initiative. It's a really good system. It gives people an opportunity to upskill within a year. They're all, as I say, one-year part-time programs. There's one exception, which is an ICT skills program, but it allows people to upskill without having to commit maybe to a 3 or 4 year program, and they can, if they decide, continue to build on the qualifications that they've gained through Springboard and gain larger awards from them.
So lots of options there. If you're thinking of applying for a Springboard Plus programme, what categories or groups of people are eligible for funding for these programmes?
Well, there are 4 main categories. So we have a category that are referred to as returners, and they would have previously been called homemakers. So they're people who have maybe caring duties, have been out of the workforce for a number of years. They would be dependent on a spouse and not in receipt of social welfare funding. And the criteria is that they're in that position for 9 of the last 12 months. So they are returners or homemakers. We also have a group of previously self-employed applicants, and they are people who ran their own businesses, and for various reasons those businesses may not be operational anymore. So they are eligible for Springboard funding. The unemployed category, anyone in receipt of a range of various unemployment payments are available or can avail of Springboard funding. And we have also diversified into including funding for people who are in employment. So they're the 4 main categories of people who can apply for Springboard funding.
Okay, and I suppose just to say that all that information is on the Springboard website, because I know there are lots of various different situations that people are in with regard to their employment status. Overall, what are the criteria for eligibility?
So all applicants have to be resident in this state, in the Republic of Ireland, to be eligible for Springboard funding. If somebody is newly resident, they have to have lived in either the EU, EEA, UK or Swiss states for 3 of the last 5 years to be eligible. And those who are not from those countries or states, they will be required to have a stamp 4 visa to be eligible. If you're unemployed, then you can have a range of payments from the Social Welfare Office will make you eligible for Springboard funding, and they include payments such as your job seekers allowance, job seekers benefit, also qualified adult, disability allowance, carers allowance, farm assist. So there's a range of different payments, and people on schemes like the Community Employment Scheme are also eligible, but they need to speak first with their local Department of Social Protection office and their case officer just to discuss the programme that they're wishing to sign up for, to get approval from them for that. And there is no limit or time frame that somebody has to be unemployed before they apply for a Springboard programme. So you can be made unemployed today and you can apply for a Springboard programme tomorrow and still meet the eligibility criteria for that. There's also academic eligibility criteria, and that really does depend on the programme and the course. So For a level 6 program, that's entry level into college, most people would gain direct access. So that would be if you have a leaving cert, or we have a thing called RPL, which is recognition of prior learning, where we can assess whatever learnings maybe that people have from the workforce or work area and give them access to a program through the use of RPL if they don't have a leaving certificate. If you're applying for a level 7 program, then we would expect that you would have a level 6 qualification. It's like a ladder system. For a level 8 program, a level 7 qualification, and for a level 9 program, a level 8 qualification. So there are a range of programs that have other maybe specific academic criteria. For example, you couldn't have a level 8 business degree and do a level 9 degree in biopharmaceutical science because you wouldn't have the science background for it. So there's academic criteria, but there's also Springboard eligibility criteria, and depending on your situation, whether you're a returner, whether you're unemployed, previously self-employed or employed, you would provide different evidence of your status when you're applying for Springboard.
Okay, so lots of different levels and ways of entering into the Springboard Plus program depending on your qualifications or your lack of qualifications. And just to pick up then what you were saying, Jean, about people in receipt of an unemployment payment or government payment, do you keep your social protection supports while you're participating in the Springboard Plus program?
Yes, you do. So Springboard was, as I said, designed specifically for people who were unemployed to help them to upskill to get back into employment. So you would still be in receipt of your payment. It's important that you speak with your local Department of Social Protection office to inform them that you are on a program, because if you're on job seekers allowance or job seekers benefit, that changes to the part-time education option. So it's important that you speak with your office once you have been accepted on a program to let them know so that they make sure that your records are updated accordingly. But your payment isn't affected. You don't get any additional payment. The Springboard will pay your fees if you're unemployed. You'll still receive your social welfare payment. That won't be affected. Our programs are all online part-time, so you are still able to look for work, to seek employment, to complete interviews. You won't be affected during the daytime when you're completing an IT Sligo online program.
Just to ask you as well, specifically, Jean, about anybody who is on the pandemic unemployment payment, what is their status with regard to Springboard Plus?
So those on the pandemic unemployment payment are linked to the group classified as unemployed. So therefore, all the fees are waived for that group. So level 6 programs are free for everybody, irrelevant of status. So those 4 categories I named earlier, the returners, the self-employed, the unemployed and employed, are all 100% funded on level 6 entry-level programs into third level education. Programs in level 7 to 9 are also free for the first 3 categories, for the returners, the unemployed and the self-employed. Employed participants on programs from level 7 to level 9 receive 90% funding, so they have to pay the last 10% of program fees. But those in receipt of the pandemic unemployment payment are waived of that 10% fee, so they're classified with the unemployed group, and they don't have to pay any fees for any program that they're on. It's also important to note that when you apply for a program, you select your status. So you let us know which of those 4 groups you fit into, which category you fit into. And when you start the program, if you've started the program as an unemployed participant, and while on that program, even if it's only 2 weeks, 2 weeks after you start the program, you gain employment, you're still classified as an unemployed participant and your fees are still paid for you. So even if you gain employment while on the program, if you started the program as one of those 3 classifications that were fully funded, you continue to be fully funded.
Lovely. And say if a student has just completed a level 8 honours degree, are they eligible then for further study funded by Springboard Plus?
Well, recent graduates from level 8, so somebody who's just finished a full-time program, for example, this May, if they wish to apply for a level 9 program in September, they have to wait for 12 months. So full-time graduates just finished honours degree programs have to have a 12-month period following graduation where they can't apply for a Springboard program. There is, of course, one exception, and the one exception to most rules is the ICT skills conversion programs, and that can be a 1-year or a 2 2-year program. So the 1-year version of that is specifically designed for unemployed participants, and those in employment can do the program over 2 years. Recent graduates actually are eligible to either iteration. They can do it over 1 year or over 2 years. So that's the one exception. The level 8 graduates, the one program that they can apply to. If they want to apply to a level 9 program, they have to wait 12 months following graduation before they can apply to that program.
You've been talking about a lot of part-time and year-long courses, but you also mentioned the 2-year ICT course there a minute ago. Is there particular eligibility criteria for that?
There is. So the ICT Skills Conversion Programme was designed for somebody who already had a level 8 honours degree. So they could have an honours degree in something like finance, accountancy, banking sector, education, but they're required to have a level 8, an honours degree, and it's to convert those into the computing sector. So it's a conversion programme, converting your qualifications to a level 8 higher diploma in science and computing. So the requirement is that they would have a level 8 qualification. For the version that IT Sligo delivers, which is the 2-year version, we only accept people who are employed onto that programme. So you have to be currently in employment and wanting to convert to the ICT sector with a level 8 honours degree qualification.
So you've given us a huge amount of information there about the programme and the different options. If someone is just looking at this now and they've heard all this information from you and they're thinking of going back to education or increasing their education skills, do you have any quick words of advice to them before they could start from the point of view of Springboard Plus?
Well, I think the Springboard initiative is a great start because you're talking about programs which are all 1 year or less. We have some programs that we deliver over 1 semester only. So they give people a flavour of what they want to do. So if you're doing a program over 1 semester, it's not a huge commitment, and you can decide to build on that and develop your skills further in that area. Or if you decide really that wasn't something that was for me, then you can, once you successfully complete that program, you can apply for another program. It's really important that when you apply for a program, it's a program that you have an interest in, and that it's not something that after a month or 2 you decide, I'm really not interested in this, I really don't want to continue it, and drop out. Springboard is really good. They'll fund you on 3 programs in 5 years, and people are gaining great qualifications from that, and great full awards from that. But if you drop out of a program, then it's recognised, the system recognises it, that you were funded and you didn't complete that program, and it's much more difficult for you then to get funding again. So it's really important that it's an area you've identified that you want to update your skills in, and then it's really beneficial, really useful 1-year part-time program. We have a range of supports available for people to be able to avail of, whether they be math supports. We have online student advisors. The course coordinators themselves are accessible all the time. So we have a range of supports for people once they're on our Springboard courses, and it really is useful, especially for people who are unemployed, to be seen, to want to upskill, to want to get back to employment. It's a really useful initiative, and it's been very successful. That's why it's 10 years in operation, and on an annual basis there's thousands of people completing Springboard courses throughout the country, throughout maybe 30, 40 providers. There's a huge range of programs. So even if IT Sligo doesn't have a program that's of interest to you, there are maybe 30 other providers. All of the programs are listed on the Springboard website. Now, as yet, the programs for September haven't been listed. We're waiting for confirmation. As I said earlier, they are all in areas where there's a skills shortage or a skills need. So they're funded on an annual basis. So that's actually being reviewed at the minute by the HCI, and we'll get confirmation back shortly as to what programs they're going to fund for us. So by about the end of May, maybe in about 6 weeks' time, we should have an idea what programs are going to be funded, and people will be able to apply to them on the Springboard website. Now, you can apply to up to 10 programs, but as soon as you accept an offer, your other applications are cancelled on the system. So as yet, we don't know what will be funded for September. All of the programs will be listed on the Springboard website, but you can link in with Springboard in advance of that so that you get notifications. There is Facebook pages, Twitter pages. So if you follow them through some of those social media ports, as soon as Springboard launches, that will be notified out through Facebook, through Twitter, and through IT Sligo social media accounts as well, as soon as it's launched. It has been a really successful initiative, and there is a huge amount of interest every year in it. So we receive a large number of applications, so it's important that really people apply early and get their applications in early to make sure that they don't miss the opportunity to get a place on a programme.
Thanks, Jean. And I suppose just to remind people that the web address for Springboard Plus will be shown at the end of this conversation with you. So Jean Gilligan of IT Sligo, thank you very, very much for your time, and best of luck with all the new students that come to you in the coming semesters. Thank you, Jean.
Thanks, Maeve.